to another math lesson. Nice to see you. Let's take a look at today's essential question. Remember, before we read the question, we have been learning about two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes. So let's take a look at our essential question. The question reads, how can you model shapes in the real world? So I want you to take a look at these shapes on my first row here. What kind of shapes are those? Yes, that's right. Two-dimensional shapes or 2D shapes. How do you know these shapes are two-dimensional or 2D shapes? Yes, you're right. All of these shapes are flat. Very good. Now, I want us to take a look at how these shapes are seen all over the world because we see them. Let's take a look at the rectangle. You can see here in my pictures all the different things that are shaped like rectangles. There's an envelope and a chalkboard, and even your screen or your computer monitor is shaped like a rectangle. Then we take a look at our next shape here. What shape was that? Yes, that's right, the hexagon. And we looked at things that in the world that are shaped like hexagons. We looked at a honeycomb and we said that the nut had that shape and even a pencil had that shape. This diamond ring had a shape of a hexagon. So we see hexagons all around the world. Now, what's this next shape? Great, that's the square. And we also see the square all over the world. A chocolate is shaped like a square. A table can be shaped like a square. A cracker and cheese. And even a window can be shaped like a square. Then we take a look at our next shape here, our trapezoid. And we see things that are shaped like a trapezoid too. There's a lamp, and we can also see a basket here and a popcorn bag. So we can see lots of things in the world that are shaped like a trapezoid. Then we look at the next shape, and that my friends, what shape was that? That's right, that's the rhombus. And we looked at the rhombus, and there's lots of things in the world that are shaped like a rhombus. We have a kite, and a goalie net has lots of shapes like a rhombus there. And then we have a vest that has a lot there too. And then we have some signs that are also shaped like a rhombus. Good. And then we see the next shape here. What's our next shape? Great. The triangle. Sorry, the triangle. And we have lots of things shaped like a triangle. You see here a sandwich and a musical triangle, a pizza, a watermelon, even chips can be shaped like a triangle. And our last shape here, my friends, is what? That's right, a circle. And we see lots of circles here that are, lots of objects here that are shaped like circles. We have a button and a pizza, an orange slice, and a clock. Many things that are shaped like a circle. So we see all of these shapes, these plane shapes, all around the world. Now, look at my bottom row. What type of shapes are these? That's right. These are three-dimensional shapes. And yes, these shapes can also be found all around the world. We saw that before. We saw this. Remember I showed you this? These showed you pictures of different things that were shaped like cones. And then we looked here at things that were shaped like cylinders. And we saw them there, all the cylinders. And then we looked at things that were shaped like a cube. And all of these things here were shaped like a cube. And then we even looked at the sphere and all the things that are shaped like a sphere, right? Yes. Good job, boys and girls. Great review. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about how can you model shapes in the real world. So we're going to talk about ways that we could show these shapes using a model. Okay? So let's move to that part of our lesson. Okay, boys and girls, let's continue with the second part of our lesson. Now, remember what our essential question was. How can you model shapes in the real world? So we're going to take a look at these plane shapes here that we already named and looked at. And we're going to think about a way that we can model that shape, or those shapes, I should say. Now, we talked about these plane shapes being flat. So we need to remember that when we try to think about which ways we can model these shapes. So some of the ways that we could think about these shapes is that since we know they are flat, then maybe we could use a flat surface to be able to show some of those shapes. And so if we wanted to make some of those shapes, what do you think we might be able to use? That's right, you could just trace on your table the shape. I just traced the shape of a triangle. Can you try that on your table? Now remember, you have to know what you have to think about what you know about that shape. All right, so try to remember what you know about the shape. Good job. Now, I want to try using something else. I want to try using this pudding to try and make one of the shapes. Now, I think I'm going to try and make the shape of this triangle, just like you did on your table. Now, I have to remember that a triangle is a flat shape. So all I need to do is show one flat surface, because that's all we see in these shapes. One flat surface, right? So I'm going to take my pudding and I'm going to think about what I know about that shape. I know that the shape has 3 vertices, and I know that the shape has 3 sides. So when I make it using my pudding, I have to think about that. So I know it has a side here, and a side here, and a side here. And I was able to make my triangle. And I have to check and make sure that this is a triangle. So let's check. Do I have 3 sides? Let's check. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Do I have 3 vertices? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Did I make a triangle? Yes, that's right. So I could, again, just erase this and try one of the other shapes. I could make maybe this shape here. Now, again, I have to look at what I know about that shape, or think about what I know about that shape. So again, I know that shape is flat. I also know that the shape has 4 vertices, and I know that it has 4 sides. So now I also know that in a square, all the sides are equal. So that I know that in order to make a square, I need to have 4 equal sides. So I need to make 4 equal sides. Okay? All right. So do those look pretty equal? Yes. Do they have are the sides there? Yes. Are the vertices there? Yes. Good job. Now remember, when we made a triangle doesn't always have equal sides. So you can just make a triangle looking like this, and it is still a triangle, because a triangle does not need to have equal sides. Good job. Okay, I want you to keep trying to make using maybe pudding, or you could try using sand or maybe yogurt, whatever that you have that might be able to let you make a plain shape or a flat shape. I want you to try some of those shapes on your plate. So let's take a few minutes to practice that, okay? And we'll see you in a little bit. Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the second part of our lesson. I hope you had fun drawing shapes, the plain shapes, using your pudding or yogurt or sand or salt. And for those of you who didn't have any of that and had to use markers and pencils, that's okay. But you know now that a good way of making a model of a shape is by drawing. Now we're going to talk about another way of making a model. Now, for this part of our lesson, we're going to need some toothpicks and some Play-Doh. Now, if you don't have any Play-Doh at home, you could use maybe marshmallows. That might help you. So I'm going to show you the lesson, and then you can go and try it on your own or with your mom and dad after we're already done. So let's take a look. I want you to listen carefully so that then you could go and try it on your own, okay? So now we know that we can draw shapes, right, to model them. This time we're going to build the shapes, okay? So we're going to build the shape this time. Now, I want us to begin by building, okay, a square. Now, in order to build a square, I have to think about what I know about a square. So if I look at this square, I know that a square is a plane shape. We already learned that. And I also learned that a square has 4 sides, 4 equal sides. And I also learned that a square has 4 vertices. So when I make my square, I need to remember that I have to include those things that I know. So the first thing I'm going to do is I think I can use these toothpicks as the sides because they're all equal. And I know that a square has 4 equal sides. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to form my square on the table because I know what a square looks like, right? It has 4 sides. So let me check and make sure I have 4 sides. You can help me. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I have 4 sides? Yes. But you know what's going to happen if I don't put these together? They're going to come apart when I move the table. So I'm going to use these pieces of Play-Doh to help me keep those sides together. So I'm going to use these as my vertices. They will help me keep my square together. So I'm going to put one here and then another one here. Make sure that you use enough Play-Doh. You don't want that coming apart, okay? I'm gonna make sure that I have enough Play-Doh there for my shape so that it doesn't come apart. And you have to be really careful because it's a little tricky, okay? And now I could see, and you could see that I have formed what shape? That's right, a square. How do I know this is a square? That's right, because it's flat. How else do you know it's a square? That's right, it has 4 sides and 4 vertices. Now, I want you next to make another square. Now, you can take a look at me and then you'll be able to try it on your own. So I'm going to take again my 4 sides, my 4 equal sides, and I'm going to use my Play-Doh to help me put those together. And now I'm going to need a little more Play-Doh over here. And this time I'm going to make sure that it's nice and sturdy. So I use lots of Play-Doh. And now I can see that, and you can see too, that I have made another square. And I could lift it here to show you. There's my second square. So now I have these two squares. Now, the shape I want to build is a cube. So, what I need to do is I need to think about, what do I know about that cube? Well, I know that a cube is a three-dimensional shape. And right now I only have two plane shapes. So I have to think about a way that I can use the rest of my cube, my toothpicks to make my cube. Now, I need to build my cube. That's what I'm doing using these toothpicks and this Play-Doh is I need to build my cube. Now, I know that a cube has flat surfaces. And I remember that I learned that a cube has 6 flat surfaces. So I have to think about, how can I make those flat surfaces? So maybe I could put these here to make those sides. And then I could lift this flat surface and put it right on top to make my cube. And then I have a flat surface on the top and flat surfaces on the side, and voila, I was able to make what shape? That's right, that's a cube. It's gonna be a little tricky. You're gonna have to kind of play with it to make sure that all your sides are even so that it stays up nice and tall. But then there you go. You will have your cube. Now, you know that we need to answer our essential question after we're done with every lesson. So let's take a look at it. How can you model shapes in the real world? So we know that we can draw them, and we can make them with our finger on the table or with pudding or yogurt or shaving cream, and pretty much draw. You can go outside and draw those plain shapes with your chalk also. Now you also saw that these shapes, these 3D shapes can also be drawn, right? You remember we just have to draw an oval here and a triangle here to make it look there like a 3D shape, okay? Our cylinder, an oval, and a little curvy here, and you can draw that. This one was a little trickier, remember? You need to have a square here, okay? And then you draw some lines here, and then you connect the lines here and there, and you have a cube, and then you have your sphere. Now, you can also build. Remember we talked about you can build your shapes. And we built some plain shapes, and we know now that we can also build a 3D shape using these materials. So now I want you to go and try to make some more shapes. Maybe some more of the 3D shapes, or maybe some of those plain shapes. So remember, you can always draw or build to show shapes around the world. I hope you had fun, boys and girls. See you next time. Bye.